Hunter 2 has a dating advice question. I've been dating a girl long distance for a year, and it's going great so far. She has bad anxiety, and it's prevented her from getting mad at me when I've deserved it. She's very afraid of arguments, and I'm very worried that the first one will explode with all sort of pent-up frustration she has. Is there a way I can make her more comfortable with the idea that it's okay to be upset with me sometimes? Probably an aggro shaman. I'm keeping that concrete because I'm smart. I have some concrete advice here. So I think the first really effective thing to do is to create some ground rules for communication. Right? Like, not just say, hey, if you're upset with me, you can tell me, but sit down and say, okay, honey, let's pretend, because you call her honey because you're like, you know, you're cutesy. You say, hey, sweetie, snuggum, but, you know, you say that sort of things to each other, right? You say, hey, honey, okay, sit her down and say, pretend for a moment that, let's say, we were going to go to a party, and at the last second, I canceled on you without giving you much of a reason, and you were upset about me. Let's talk about, like, a way that, you know, to express that, right? And you, like, honestly, the best things like, I felt blank when blank happened. You know, those sort of things. And to explore just different phrasings for that. Like, I don't know, I felt... because you want to use more specific language than, I felt hurt. I felt hurt, that hurt me. I felt hurt, I was sad. That made me mad. But getting specific, where, like, what about that would bother you, right? It's like, well, I just felt... It felt like you didn't care that much about me then, or something like that. It felt like you were more interested in your game than spending time with me, or whatever. I felt unimportant. I felt frustrated. I felt confused. You know, there's like so many different ways you can phrase it, right? I felt blank when you blank, right? Explore some of those. Just to give her some language to glom onto. Because the hardest thing about emotional and relationship-based communication is that nowhere in my life have I ever seen anyone at all say straight up, here are some good techniques for talking. Nobody has, like, done that. Not in my schools. Not among friends, certainly not in movies. So that's the first thing. Just get some language on the table in fictional settings. That would be my first approach. So that way she has some comfort saying it. And you should just pretend mockingly, like mock out, not mockingly, you should sort of do a mock session, right? Where pretend that, oh my god, who runs this good? Who is this guy? I'm gonna hold on to my weapon here. But you do a mock comforting of her, right? So you just talk about that, and you say, like, hey, I want to just get in the habit, because I feel like we've had so few of these, like, I want to make sure that we have a structure for this. So that's step one. Step two, I would say step two, set a time to just sit down and check in. And just be explicit, right? Hey, sweetheart, I've been noticing that there's a lot of times when you have not gotten frustrated with me when I felt like I totally deserved it. And, you know, obviously you don't want to demonize her there. Like, I really appreciate you being understanding and being really kind to me there. If it's just the video, that's fine. I just want to make sure the audio isn't dropping too. Okay, cool. Yeah, you don't want to demonize her for having not gotten angry. You should be like, hey, thank you for being really understanding and considerate, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to express your feelings. So, how about we just set aside time, like on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Maybe you do it once a week, maybe you do it twice a week, maybe you do it every single night, just to check in. And a thing that's very emotionally hard for people is everything's fine, and then one person says, hey, you have been bothering me, and all of a sudden this person who's doing nothing suddenly has this onus on them to address this issue, and that putting that on someone else feels stressful, and being the recipient of that can be very stressful. But if you are driving the interaction, you say, hey, 8 p.m. on Tuesdays, let's sit down and talk. And 8 p.m. Tuesdays comes up, you say, hey, let's talk about this last week. Was there anything that I did that bothered you? Maybe. And then you just list some things. Maybe that time when this was going on, or maybe this other thing. Were those sorts of things bothering you? And then notice, you are saying, hey, I am inviting you. I am prepared. I am coming to you ready to comfort, right? It's a much easier thing, because then she can just plug into that. How do we want to kill him?
Let
Bring me steel.
the battle for justice.
So many weapons on hand, I'm just going to chuck it away. And what's nice is that since you've practiced some conversations, practiced some stuff, and then you have some structure, okay, that's good, then everyone just starts to become more comfortable communicating. And a goal is to set that expectation. So that way, next time she's upset, she's going to feel a little less apprehensive because she has seen how it turns out, and it'll just sort of go down over time.
It's time. The battle.
Ooh, I got a Pronto Tonto. Jeez. Because I'm a big believer that big fights happen and big conflict happens because, one, someone didn't feel comfortable expressing exactly how they were feeling. They held some stuff in. The second, they did want to express, they just didn't have the proper training and learning of how to talk about feelings. Because, where'd I get those scratches? Do I have scratches? I got a little bit of dry skin stuff.
Don't test me, child. The battle. It's time.
Ooh, we're lagging. This deck is great. I'm gonna storm up the ladder. We haven't played RenoRafaam yet, which kind of sucks. Yeah, but I mean, if you don't have any training, it's very hard to figure out the right line. Because honestly, like, good communication, it sucks in terms of interestingness. You sound wrong compared to every popular media. You know, in the intense suspense thriller, you have the main character be like, Mr. President,
with honor.
your attitude is gonna get everybody killed! You're wasting our time! Right? And that's really powerful, dramatic, conflict-inducing sorts of dialogue, right? That's... oh my god! Ah! It doesn't sound as kick-ass as something like... I felt bothered when you didn't respond to my texts for 3 days in a row. Right? It doesn't have the same BAM! You know what I'm saying?